Alright, hello and welcome to the second part of my three-part conclusion to my woodworking tool series. Um, Now, last one I went over the point, which is what I'd like you to take away from this. Now I want to talk about my purpose. Um, and there will be some social commentary. I'll try to keep it brief because I think it is really unfair to do a series about one thing, then at the end go, oh, by the way, how about this? This is, that. No, I'm not here to rickroll or political roll or anybody, but it did have a factor. First, let me back up a little bit and go over a few things. When I got my YouTube account, it was really just so I could comment on other people's videos. I never thought I'd make my own. And then I got well, I'm a drummer. Why don't I just make videos of myself drumming, post them? That way when I contact bands, I can just say, hey, here's the link, check me out. If you like me, then we can proceed. If not, hey, no harm done. We're not wasting our time or gas, whatever. But then I started getting, that's why my handle name is 1S Drummer 2. Not 1 Woodpecker 2 or 1 Brown Woodworking 2 or anything like that. But then I started noticing in the woodworking community something that I've noticed in the culture of large, which is a kind of almost prejudice or snobbery, especially when it comes to tools. Like if you're not using these tools somehow, you're lesser than, or you're not doing it right. And it kind of took me back to when I was a kid growing up, being raised by a single working class mother. It just brought me back to those days of getting picked on for not having the right clothes, the right shoes, and it kind of struck a nerve with me, especially because a lot of these tools, they can cost as much as an entire week's paycheck for a lot of people. And that annoyed me, especially, and also, where those tools excel are for the exotic, highly figured woods, which are out of most people's budget anyhow. Most of your woodworkers, especially your home woodworkers, are going to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or the equivalent thereof, get the naughty utility grade pine, and make stuff out of. They're not going to be dealing with, bird's eye maple or bubinga or Paduke. Love Paduke, by the way. Love Paduke. Dusty as hell. My wife hates it, but love it. Anyway, so the idea of buying these really expensive tools to work really expensive wood and have that be known as woodworking, even if that's not the intention of the writers and the presenters, got to me. So that's why I did my first Stanley Plains video. And Stanley was the only reason I did that is because that's what I use. I like their range, but, I could have easily done modern Great Neck planes or modern Irwin planes if I lived overseas. You can't buy Irwin planes sold under the record name here. But this was the brand I used, so that's what I referenced. And then it got to the point where it's like, well, I'm trying to start my own business here. What better commercial is to actually show me making something? That way people can see me work and go, oh, he's really good. I'll buy from him. That's what led me to my Toolbox series. And then the response was so positive from that. By the way, you guys have been awesome. All of you who watch these videos, I thank you. Your comments, your likes, everything. You're awesome. I love all of you. That I kind of got over ambitious, and it's like, okay, I'm going to start my own YouTube series. So from March to about October, I would shoot a video every other week on a subject, and the woodworking tools one was the first idea I had. Then real life intrude, and it didn't quite work out that way. Um, but I still said, well, I started it. I'll continue. I had to delete my cherry serving tray series. That I was like, no, I can't do two series. It was stupid for me to even try anyhow. But I'll finish this out at least, at the very least. But as it went on, and the idea was to present just really tight, controlled information for people who are just starting out. Because I know when I started out, you, I mean, the conflicting information in woodworking is probably second only to the diet industry, which obviously I know a lot about. Um, so just synthesize the information as best as possible, present it tightly, cleanly, and then at the end, give my sources and let you guys go into the world and expand upon it. But then I kind of just didn't want to do, you know, information regurgitation. And there were some things that were being written that didn't work out for me. So I started adding my 2 cents, like, keep the chip breaker as tight to the edge of the plane as possible, keep the mouth as tight as possible. I did that, I got a clogged mouth, it never worked. Or this being for the cross section of the peen on a Warrington hammer being for setting small nails. Tried it, I only bashed my fingers. Um, so then I started adding my own take on it and my own experience. But then as it went on too, I did want to expand on some social commentary because I felt this is where a lot of things have gone awry. Is that at the turn of the last century, all societies had this devil's bargain where we went to the corporations and said, if you eat up our excess population and give them jobs, we will kind of let you have a large say in what goes on. And it kind of worked for a while, but it hasn't worked completely. And I think now a lot of things have gone wrong. One of the things that have gone wrong is that we no longer value people who work with their hands, who actually make things. As somebody who, I've counted this comment, oh, you work with your hands. That must be nice. I work with my mind. Oh, really? Because obviously working with wood requires no mental capacity whatsoever. I don't need math. I don't need to think about proportions or geometry. And just stupid things like that. In devaluing the work, we've devalued the people who actually make things. Um, and you can see it throughout our culture where people who work with their hands, who make things for a living, are treated as stupid, uneducated, backwards. And this is across all races. I mean, this isn't a race thing. Poor whites are shown to be as equally as moronic as poor blacks and poor Hispanics, people who make stuff with their hands. So this is definitely a class thing, not a race thing. And what I decided I wanted to do is say, you know what, there is value in making things that, under the Ayn Rand school of thought, that, it's the people who actually make things, or produce things, that are the parasite class, and it's the people in the offices who are the providers. No, that's wrong. Without people who actually get dirty, who actually take hammer in hand or hoe in hand, who make the furniture, make the cars, pick the fruit, do all that, we have nothing. And to encourage people to start thinking about, maybe starting their own businesses, making things again, not waiting to get a job from, some multi-international corporation. I know some of this seems a little bit hypocritical since I'm standing in front of tools made by a multinational corporation. You know, and maybe I am a hypocrite, but life isn't perfect and it doesn't offer us perfect choices. But what I do feel is that we we need to take more power back into our own hands. And I think the best way to do that is to start taking control of our financial lives. You know, starting businesses, not just woodworking, maybe blacksmithing or clothing or anything, to take to rediscover the value, the majesty, and dignity of work. And that's kind of what I wanted to leave you with today. Just to, if you make things with your hands, if you actually do something, you are not a parasite to society. You are what society stands on. You support society. That you are a human being of dignity and worth, and we need you. So that's kind of my soapbox moment. Um, like I said, I tried to keep it short. Um, Hopefully you agree with me. But yeah, so that's my purpose, and I will see you for one last chapter, which I'll go over the magazines, books, you know, and all that. My bibliography, so to speak. So anyway, thank you and goodbye.